you have to have some type of drive. You have to have some type of desire, and a lot of those people just lack that. So I can't. When I know I came from humble beginnings, as they say, right, and made a way. There's too many options. So if you just decide to quit, hey, that's what you choose to do. But I don't think it's a fair thing to say, hey, I have to take care of you and keep paying for you just simply because you gave up. It just doesn't seem right.
Right.
And
And my pushback would be to you, Clay. I understand the idea of we pay for prisoners to survive. Why don't we pay, for the poor to survive? But in that aspect, the prisoners don't have the any other option. We lock them up in a prison cell. We force them to be there. They've lost their rights to anything else. We have to feed them because we put them there, right? So if we were going to whereas the other people, yeah, they're impoverished, but they're still capable of working. If they weren't, if that wasn't the case, then we would, if they're disabled, if they're elderly, so on and so forth, totally different story. But you're capable of going to get a job. You're capable of working part time somewhere else. You're capable of doing all these other things. Whereas somebody in prison, they have zero options for any of that. They don't have the ability to feed themselves.
Clay, I'll just say, like on the aspect of prisoners, if you make prisoners work for their food, that is no longer a prisoner. That is a slave, just by the strictest sense of the word. Because, in a
Um,
sense, they can't leave the service of either the state or an individual.
Hmm.
yeah, no, I wouldn't agree with that. Even though I understand your ideal there, no, they wouldn't be considered a slave. They're just a prisoner who you simply put to work, and they are forfeit their rights. And because they are forfeit their rights, they also have to atone, and that's a punishment. It's not a slavery thing. But as far as the the welfare, right? So the welfare is not um, it's not a leg up for the poor. It's a protection for the rich, right? So if someone in their ivory tower believes that uh, they're going to be able to just essentially have all the poor people bring all the food to them and then they get to dish it out to who it goes to, eventually the poor will take that food back. And so it is a protection for those who have, uh, that they give to those who do not have. And yes, I do agree that there are some distinctions here. And when you mentioned the prisoners, the pushback for what prisoners have forfeit. Um, well, how much more so do we owe to those in society who don't commit crimes and then are simply just unhappy with the system to take care of their welfare as a society? Because when it comes down to society as a whole, the general welfare is a concern. And yes, I do agree that there are some nuances to who should and shouldn't get it when it comes down to it. Like I mentioned in the chat, that I understand the need to punish those who abuse it, which is actually that technically that's theft, right? And so yes, absolutely, they should be jailed for theft.
Hmm.
But that's not to include those who are just simply dejected and then could easily be called lazy. And that leg up that they're getting, it's a protection for those who have. And so I would rather have my tax dollars go to feeding the dogs than to make sure that they don't have. I want them to live. I still have uh, value in their lives.
Well, we're about to see a big overcorrection, I think, because now it's like in some states, like where I live, right? I am legally disabled for no fault of my own. Um, it is a long-term disability. I have a teenager. Despite the fact that my child is a full-time student, um, the amount of SNAP that I get for him is being adjusted because they think that he should have a job despite being in school from, he has to leave the house at 6:30 in the morning and gets home after 4 in the afternoon. And even then, under New York state laws, he's only allowed to work X number of hours a week. So I think we're about to see this huge overcorrection because we've had so many people that are getting away with abusing the system. And it's not going to be good in the long run for people who actually do need it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I like that you mentioned too, real quick, that the that there's those who are limited to what work they can do. So when you're on a welfare program, you're actually limited to how much you can work. And so there's no getting ahead for you if you are in that limitation, right? So, the idea that, oh, you're on welfare, that means that you can go get, you need to go get a job at some point, right? Well, yes. And then they'll lower your food stamps if you get the job and then tell you can only work a certain amount of hours. And it's a great idea that these limitations exist, but believing that somebody is just going to come out of the hole is, that's really not reality.
Especially when you start taking into consideration older teenagers who still aren't out of high school yet, right?
Right. I don't think that should be fair to put that burden on a teenager. Ant, do you you were next in line. Do you want to chime in with a thought to Mr. Fantastic or the panel or something?
You talking to me?
Yep. Ant.
Oh, Andrew.
Ant. God's favorite ant. Ant. Above you. Auntie, you with us? Maybe his mic's
I
out.
don't think he's here.
All right, we'll move on to you, Andrew.
Okay. I don't have much for the benefits conversation. I did see a lot of. I think that if we cut out the people, at least that weren't even born in America, that are getting benefits, it would help. It would help a lot. Excuse me. There's no reason that the American people should be paying for other people to come here that can't even feed themselves. That's ridiculous. If you come here and you can't even feed yourself, it's obviously not working. So there's large portions of, I saw the stats today, but like every community, it's like 20 to 30% of them that come over are on some type of welfare benefit. So if we cut that, we could take care of a lot more Americans. So that's my take on it. And then also about winning. I think we're already winning. About how do we fix it, right? We're already winning the culture war. Like, it's not cool to be a Democrat. Like, every person that I talk to on the left always says, oh, I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Democrat. I'm an independent. So already, they're embarrassed to even associate with it. So, and we did that without the institutions, without the education system, without the mainstream media, without any of these institutions. We made it uncool to be a Democrat. So I think we just have to keep doing what we're doing, and we'll see the shift in society that we're already seeing. I mean, Trump won the popular vote every swing state. And again, this is without the institutions on our side. So I think we're doing the right thing. We just got to stay the course and keep up the right messaging.
Okay. Ace Philosophy, did you want to add in? And then we'll move on to obstacles after that.
Yeah, I just wanted to mainly respond to the prompt itself. Why are there so many unproud Americans? I remember when I was growing up that, well, first of all, I think a term everyone has to understand and know what it means is called the Long March to the Institutions. It's when these Marxists came over from Europe and basically systematically infiltrated a number of, the information systems that disseminate information to Americans. The universities, the journalistic outlets and things like that. They got in there and they started talking. All they did was focus on all the horrible, evil things America did and never taught people the true spirit of the founding of America, how it was founded on, the principle of limited government. The reason the Marxists hate the Constitution so much is because fundamentally its purpose is to limit the power and scope of the government. And the Marxists had to undermine the foundations of America. So what they did is they went into the media, they went in the universities, and they basically pummeled people with anti-American ideology for decades. And when the internet came out, I just want to finish. I'll finish in a minute here. The major tech companies and social media companies like Reddit and even like Wikipedia and originally Twitter with Jack Dorsey, who was like a radical leftist, and Google was founded by people who were openly Marxist and atheists and things like that. all of these people were going on these websites just trying to talk to each other, and they were being flooded with anti-American, just endless stream of anti-American propaganda daily. And I think it turned a lot of people in my generation, especially the millennials, just hate, a fundamental hatred of our own country. It was a cancer. So I think that now people are waking, like the founder, the co-founder of Wikipedia, all these people were acknowledging that this happened, and we need to recognize that we have been fed so many lies. We need to break out of it. And I think it's happening, but I think we need to recognize what happens.
Okay. Any thoughts to that? Oh, go ahead.
I would say that it's been a blessing in disguise because a lot of these people tend to be very immoral, degenerate, and when they go and people realize that, they go and get repulsed by it. Like, I don't know if you know the history of r/atheism for Reddit, but there was this meme of this obese person with a neck beard and a fedora, and there was one quote that was so ridiculous that it made online atheism a joke. So much so that people were ashamed to go and say that they were an atheist and to go and stop wearing fedoras online or in public because that was associated with them. It is things like that where it's a blessing where because they've been pushing the propaganda so much that as soon as they realize that the people pushing it is bad, it goes and it inadvertently wakes the population up to it. And about the people who are involved, with the people who came from Europe, the funniest thing is that it just highlighted the networks that were already here because it was like the same trade unionists, like even the first one in Detroit. Like you could see the direct connection, especially with the language they choose to print the paper in. But yeah, I would say it's a more of a positive thing because people see they see someone with blue hair that looks weird. They automatically tell that this is not someone they want to associate with. It kind of, in that sort of sense, it kind of
filters itself out.
Yeah, and it kind of highlights people when they look at a particular ideology that it's bad, just not even having to dig into it because they can see the people who are associated with it.
All right, fair enough. Obstacles, welcome to the panel, sir. Nice to have you. What do you have for us today?
Respect the fantastic and the host. And then Evan, I should have came here with blue hair. You wouldn't have heard a word I say. So no, speaking to A's point real quick before I want to go on my point, which is just the main subject. Excuse me. I think Fox News used to have the majority of the airway when they had linear TV. So what happens, the right just lost the tech war. And as the left ideology took, they had technology. They're not smarter. They're not stronger. It's nothing like that. Their message wasn't better. It's just they leveraged social networking and technology. Most of VC funds actually come from Democratic-led venture capitalists. So they just won that battle. But of course, shout out to Elon. There has been the playing field that's kind of shifted quite a bit. And of course, individual journalism. Going to the main point of why Americans are unproud, there's multiple reasons, but I'll do my favorite top 4 reasons, which I think is loss of gratitude and perspective. America's a great country. There's no other better country. I'm actually pretty subjective on that. I'm not objective. It is amazing. Comfort crisis or curse. People have been comfortable for so long. It's a book that was written about it. They start finding other problems. If I got to go to work 9 to 5, I'm a slave. Like literally, really? It's worse than chattel slavery. They're like, yes, that's crazy. So, but they're just looking for a problem. I do say weak leadership, but I also love to follow it up by weak fellowship because it's a two-way street. You can't have a weak leader without weak followers, and especially in a place like America because we voted for them. So a lot of people don't look inward; they always look external, and then that comes to the most important part I find is victimhood. Victimhood culture is running in live, and unfortunately, it's with a lot of different groups. I was, of course, raised on a healthy diet of Black victimhood. But once I got out that box, I went out to find other people and they were like, well, it's a class struggle now. It's the middle class and the rich hate us. And then I found it was a victimhood cycle inside that now. And now I'm like, I hate everybody who has money. If you got money, you're evil, and you're against white, black, and Indians and albino snow monkeys. And so, net, there's always these victimhood traps. And we have to look back, and I'll end it here. I lived overseas for 15 years. I served my country as a combat veteran and multimillionaire. I love America. I've been to many other countries, and people dream of coming to United States of America. We have problems for sure, but we don't have the problems that they have, which is Africa. No roads, no electricity, no water. But you have Americans believing that Africa's better than America. You have Americans believing living under the CCP is better than living under Biden or Trump. I don't like Biden too much, but it ain't worse than living underneath the CCP. And so we lost perspective. TikTok war is real. They have landslided us, China. And it's a lot of different factors. But again, I would say it's a lack of perspective. The red, white, and blue is an amazing country. Shout
You
out to the next
mentioned
post.
thank you. You mentioned the slave to the 9 to 5. Would you say the whole quiet quitting trend kind of piled in on that concept? Because I know that was big, especially a couple of years
Yeah,
ago, where it's like, no, I do 9 to 5. There's nothing extra. I don't owe you. That's
yeah.
outside of my scope of work. Do you think that kind of bleeds into that idea of I'm not your slave. I'm simply just an employee here from 9 to 5. I come in, I do my job, I go home.
Yeah, that goes with the comfort crisis. And then that's
Mm,
kind of along with the other person who wrote, Sean, I believe his name was, he wrote in the post, when he was saying post scarcity, what he's saying is people actually believe in America, housing is a human right. They believe
mm,
Wi Fi comes from the ecosystem. Like there is no internet and infrastructure. They just believe it comes from nature. So that should be a human right. And so if you look at it on its face value, let's even go back to our nostalgia area of the 1950s. People forget that those people had to survive World War II. So it wasn't fun. Like I don't want to go back to 1990 when people told me, go to war, go fight with Germany, and maybe you could come back and have a good wife. I got to go to war. So it was a lot of struggle those people went through. But what I'm trying
mm.
to say is people believe now that housing's a human right, electricity is a human right. And so that's what they mean by post scarcity. They believe that, hey, I'm an American citizen. I was born out of my mom and dad. So thus, therefore, you owe me electricity, food, and all the essentials.
I
So that's
see.
that post scarcity that they believe in.
I see. I'm glad somebody like really was able to knock that one home. Ant, is your mic working now? Do we got
Is
you?
it working now?
Yay! Yes, we do. All
Fantastic.
right. Your thoughts to the panel, and then I'm going to open up the floor after that.
Okay,
Go
okay.
ahead.
I'll try, although I feel like obstacles, A's, and Carnal kind of covered the stuff I was going to cover.
Mhm.
I was going to get to the post-scarcity thing. I think most people don't understand what scarcity means in an economic sense. That is, it's a resource for which decisions must be made. If something is freely available, it's not a scarce resource. But if it's not, then it is. It has nothing to do with how abundant the resource is. Well,
Mhm.
it kind of does, but something has to be so abundant that there's no way to track who's, like, for example, the air we breathe, water. I'm not talking about like out of your faucet or something. I'm talking just ocean. Nobody's going to charge you if you go take a cup of water out of the ocean or out of a lake, for example. But potable water, drinking water, obviously is a scarce resource because it requires labor to make it drinkable and to deliver it to you. So I have a problem with anybody who says post scarcity because there's never going to be a situation where resources aren't scarce. If for nothing else, time is a resource and that will always be scarce until we are immortal, which I don't believe is possible. I think I've had enough time. I'll stop there and bring up other stuff later as it comes up. Thank you so much.
That's fair. And Tom Carpenter's. Oh, I'll let you respond in just a sec. Tom Carpenter says, "Be good, panel." What am I thinking? Yeah, usually they get pretty cantankerous here. And Tom also supplementing at number 6 on the Dono Go. Thank you so kindly. Everyone should follow Tom's lead. He's a wonderful leader. You should follow him and do as he does. And Lawyer Chick sending in the big 5 just to say hello to everybody. All right. So far I've assessed that Clay, you are the Robin Hood for the poor. I think that's the angle that you're coming from, but I think most people might
Yeah.
actually be disagreeable to a strong degree, and you're also advocating that the poor don't have as many rights as the prisoners in that aspect based on that analogy. I'd like if anyone else would like to dive into that, and Mr. Fantastic, if there's any particular points here that you would like to chime in on, I'd love to hear it.
No, we can start. My bad, Swan. Yeah, we can start there. We can start with that one. So yeah, I was actually looking at today because I was making that a point. When people get out of jail or stay out of jail or prison or whatnot, what have you, or probation, one of the things that's mandatory for them is to work. So they have, in the process of probation and being under these, parole and things, they have to work. So that's something that a lot of these welfare abusers, don't do. So if a person that's a criminal, right, is being forced to do it, so on and so forth, I think it kind of counterbalances what he's saying. And I know he didn't make the slavery argument, so I forget who did, but you definitely have way better options than a person that's making, I think, a cap of 35 cents a day, depending on the states, for whatever time that they're incarcerated. So, and like I said, that's just something as to where it's fundamentally just not true. And I think it gets to the point of where, not speaking about you specifically, but that's the poor mindset I was alluding to earlier, as to where they're told and they're taught that, oh well, I can't do this and I can't do that because of, well, again, there, a lot of these people, self-made millionaires, say they at one point in time they were homeless. So I just think there needs to be, I guess, a better message put out there so that people are more encouraged. And to get back to the point like Obstacles was making, America is great. You literally have people that can't speak the language, that come from third world countries, no running water, and they end up being extremely wealthy. So if they can do it, you definitely can do it as an American.
I would argue with. Sorry, Sarah.
No, I Evan had kind of talked up. I wanted to hand it back over to him if he wanted, and then back to you, Beth.
Thanks.
I was going to bring it to like the original topic, but Beth, if you have something to respond on like the specific job, and you can talk.
I was just going to say, I think it's really the main war that we need to start fighting is against entitlement and instant gratification. I think that those two things have become so prevalent in this country that nobody understands accountability or how to work for something or how to just, make things happen. I grew up my family was always poor, and guess what? We always had a garden, where your churches help take care of stuff.
Right.
It's not like nobody owes us anything, even if you're poor. Just saying.
It's like spoiled children. Like everything that they do is like spoiled children. Like it's like the kid that grows up in the nicest house, which is the United States, but like whines because they don't have the pony. Like that's exactly what you're dealing with. And that's why they always have an emotional response. Like you have to treat them like children, actually. It's the only way to deal with, but that's what you're describing.
So, I mean, how do we get away from that? How do we, because to me, it's the teach a man to fish, he'll be fed forever. Give a man a fish, he'll be fed for a day.
Let the food stamps go out. Let the food stamps run out and just let nature take its course.
That's not wise. That's not wise. Okay.
But why should we just pay for it? Someone's paying. It's not free. You're just shifting the cost. So like you said earlier, Americans that get up, I have to get up in the morning and go to work at 6 a.m. Why do I have to pay for it? Why should I pay for it?
It's a protection.
It's like
why do I have to?
I just said it.
Like
it's a
I have
protection.
to wake up and go to work, and I have to pay for someone else that doesn't. Like
as
that,
a protection.
That be my choice?
Yes.
Well, okay, but
you
here
pay police.
For Andrew, hold on. For Andrew Clay, Andrew wants protection too. He wants his money protected from being wasted on somebody who's not just sitting at home doing nothing and abusing the system. So the protection is twofold.
And that's why it's like you'll start, or at least I know where I am, a lot of the communities around me have big community gardens that anyone, like the homeless, can walk right in, pick some food, and walk right off with it. No money asked for, no nada. In fact, they bring the kids in and teach them how to work it, how to grow food, how to deal with all of it, make compost and stuff. So these are programs that we should really be investing back into within our communities.
Yeah, I'm all about charity. I love charity, right? Welfare, which is, primarily housing and food stamps, is exactly that. It's just a tax that is being applied.
Charity's
So
a choice.
it is a,
It's not forced charity.
It's not a charity.
Go one
that's
at
a
a time.
problem.
Let's go one at a time. Andrew, I think you were chiming. Let Clay finish, and then Andrew, I know you wanted to chime in.
it is a protection in the same way that you would donate to your church so that the hungry, the poor would have and not come into your home and rob you. It is the same as that protection. It's just through the government, who already takes your money anyway.
You just said it was a charity. Is
Yeah,
it
it's
charity
not
or
a-
is it a protection?
Exactly what it is. That's what a
Is
welfare
it a
is.
charity or is it a protection?
It's neither. It's skill building. When you start getting your community to invest in,
You're not gonna get
itself
rid of the
and
poor.
making these gardens and things like that.
Clay,
Do you believe that you're going to get rid of the poor?
I think that you could get rid of the poor by having everyone work.
It's
And
never going to
sometimes-
happen. You live in
Yeah.
utopia.
Poor is a relative term.
You can go and have a society
No, there
where
are
you
people
take
who
from
are
others
poor.
to
We
give
know what
to
poor is.
all of your own people, and you can
There are-
force them to do
Hold on.
jobs to go and have them occupied. But I will just say one thing to kind of like the whole thing, as opposed to like giving money as like a government program versus charity. With charity, you see someone give you the money, and you have an emotional feeling of I have to make something of this, as opposed to just getting a anonymous check from just a unpersonal government, where that I would say that's a big difference. Like there is not an emotional connection there, where you just see it as just like a constant money source, where it's easy to feel entitled that way.
Well,
As
even at
opposed to-
that, so if you're in a church community, and let's say if I was going through hard times, and I went to my church, and I went to the nuns or the priests, and I said, "Look, I'm having a hard time. I just need a little help. Is there like food pantry, something that we offer, or something I can do volunteer wise to get it? Like, what can we do?" And they said, "Look, like we've got this, like XYZ. Here you go. Here you go." That's part of my community. That's my people giving to me. And so that makes me feel tied back into the community. And I think this is what Evan was trying to kind of elaborate on. Whereas if I fill out paperwork to the government and I send it in, and we go back and forth with a few phone calls on my actual income or whatever, and it's like, yes, this is okay, you're accepted or rejected or whatever the case, that's just some red tape. Hocus pocus. I don't feel anywhere obligated to the government. It's just like, well, am I accepted or not? Am I going to get it or not? How much are you going to send me a month or not? There's no community tie-in. There's no feeling of I owe back, or this came from people with good hearts who want to see me do well. This just came from a government person sitting behind a computer sending me a check every month, or however it is.
So this is actually what I would say in response to that. This is actually why it is that this topic actually right here. Why are there so many unproud Americans today? Because people are being told that you just have to pick yourself up by the bootstraps and don't worry about the poor people, right? So the tax money that you are paying. Hold on. I literally just like, can you give me a couple of minutes
Go ahead.
Put it out there? So
Go on.
So when it comes to feeding the poor, doing what we would call general welfare, it's actually in the Constitution. It is the government's responsibility to take care of the general welfare of the people. Okay. Those programs are there as a protection for those who have, so that those who don't have don't come and take your money, your stuff. Now, on top of that, you're telling me that a church will take care of you. There are people who don't go to church. There are people who don't believe in the church. There are people who do not want anything to do with the church. So what are those people to do? They're not going to the church. And you say, well, the church will give to them. All they have to do is come. They are not going to the church. You know who they pay? They pay the government. There are atheists who pay the government so that their fellow atheists can have a general welfare, just like your church. The church and state have been separated for a reason. People do not believe in your church.
So why don't you organize your own welfare for atheists like the churches do?
Yeah.
Why do we have to pay for it?
There's
We do.
online
It's called the
places like
government.
GoFundMe
But why
where
do you
they can
need
give
us?
money
We don't
to
need
We do.
you.
It's called the government.
Hold on.
We
So
do.
you-
It's called the government.
Evan, you were chiming in on that. Go ahead.
I was just saying, like, there's online websites like GoFundMe and other places where people who aren't necessarily religious or anything like that can give money to strangers directly. And there's PayPal and stuff like that where those sort of organizations can happen. And I'd say that is like a different thing. But churches, the main reason that they are around to give charity is they are long established and it's part of their doctrine. And if people are too proud to go and accept from that choice, then that is their choice. Just like how
So
they
they're-
don't need to go and believe in it.
So they're too proud to go and accept from the church, but they're proud Americans. This is exactly my point, right? So you're telling me that
That's not
these
a
people
contradiction.
who are proud Americans have to go to your church so they can be so they won't be too proud, right?
Well, what's the?
This is
I
the
just got a
exact
quick
opposite
question.
of the conversation.
Go ahead, Mr.
Well, I just got a quick
Fantastic.
question. So, is the contingency the religious aspect of it, or it being a church? Because my understanding, most food banks, you don't have to be affiliated with a church at all. Anybody is open to any and every one. So, I mean, if the food bank just happens to be a church, why is that a point of contention if you need to eat?
Because the church, okay, there's food that the church gets, okay, and it's old food, right? And so you're expecting that these people who are going to go get the welfare that you say is the only option for them to go get stale food that the church has basically had in their pantry for what, a year. And then on top of that,
Where are you
saying-
making these
you're
claims
saying-
from?
Hold
You're
on.
just
Because
making
I've
it up.
been
I know
there.
how
Hold
long-
on,
I've been
hold
there.
on.
Just making
I've been
stuff
there.
up.
Look, I have
Man.
been there.
Hold
They
on.
probably have
I
old-
want to give a big shout
I'll
out
ask
to
next.
Angry Man. Welcome back, my friend. If you're welcome to take on the panel if you'd like. I'd love to have you. And Tom also making number 7 of the donos. Angry Man making number 8. Please feel free to donate all of your money. It's much prettier sitting in my back pocket than yours. So please feel free to do so to finish that dono goal. Okay.
Can I
Let me make one thing clear. Clay is probably the odd man out on this panel at this time. When Duck comes up here, Duck will be an odd man out too. So let's make sure we're at least mindful that it's like 9 against 1. So let's be mindful of that when it comes to talking time. But yeah, go ahead, Beth, chime in.
real quick. So one, social services is not supposed to be like the full payment. It's not going to cover 100% of the bill ever. 2, you're right. There's going to be some bits and pieces, especially within some food banks, that is close to expiration. That's just how it is, because unfortunately, that is what the grocery stores tend to send over to the food banks. However, not all of it is that. You can pick up some that's, a year or so out, and beggars can't be choosers, like he said. And then on top of it, in the smaller communities, you get hunters who donate their kill, like venison and stuff, to the food banks. So they're getting fresh, good local meat. And
all this is good. So I want to point this out too. I'm not an atheist. I'm a believer in God. And
I know
I
you
find
are.
it very interesting that fellow believers are saying to me that we shouldn't feed the poor.
that's not what I'm saying.
Clay, I
That
want to
is
respond
what
to that.
you are saying to me.
No one-
We should
no
not take our tax
That's not what
dollars
we're saying.
that the government
what I
has
said at
already
all.
taken from us. Hold on. Can I
Yeah.
we
Can I?
No,
we have
But that's-
fellow
lying.
believers.
You're lying,
Hello.
Clay. You're
Hi.
lying. You're lying.
We
No, but that's not what we're
we
saying. We're
have
saying
fellow
we can
believers
spend the
among
money
us.
better.
Listen,
We can
Hold
spend
on.
it
Hold
better.
on. Hold on.
I'm just
All
trying
right.
to say one thing. I'm just trying
Go
to
ahead,
respond.
Andrew. Go
one
ahead,
time.
Andrew.
Yeah, we could spend. We're not saying we shouldn't feed the poor. That's a straw man of our argument. Like, that's not what we're saying. We're
That's
saying
exactly what
we
you're
could
saying.
do a better
Hold
job.
on, Clay.
We could do a better job. Who's going to do a better job of managing your money, you or the government?
if I give a man
Who's going to do a better job of managing your money, you or the government?
Clay, let me ask you, do you really believe the government is the only way to help people to send our money to these corrupt maniacs in Washington who constantly
Crazy.
get everything wrong?
You're muted, Clay.
Lie to us.
You guys have a
Clay,
conversation between yourselves because you can't fucking wait for me to fucking respond.
Hold on, Clay. I know, like everybody wants to kind of add in their terms, and then we'll hand it back to you. Ant, were you done, or was that A or Ant?
Yeah, I just
Okay.
want to ask him why he has it in his mind that only the government can help people. That's basically my question.
I don't have that
think
in my
that's a good
mind.
question. Clay, would you still recommend for anyone? I know that you're kind of in the atheist realm of the concept, right? Instead of going to church and building on community, but why would you prefer the government help over the church community,
Because I
or
recognize
or a community just on its own, like a neighborhood of some sort, pitching in to help a neighbor?
Oh, I'm all about that. I'm all about working locally, right? And I've never said that we shouldn't have the churches do. I've always said that the churches should do more. The problem is that they're not. The government comes in where the church is not doing. This is why we pay the government.
Clay, I will just say that there are certain things like managing children who don't have homes, housing the homeless, and things like that, where governments take over those responsibilities, make it illegal, give fines to places that resist, where they go and usurp that power just so that they can go and
Yeah,
further.
that's corruption. Yeah, I get that.
And that's why I say that's why
churches
churches may not overstep,
No, the
because they
churches
don't
are
want to
corrupt
upset
too.
the government.
The churches are corrupt
Obstacles.
too.
Did you want to add into that?
Yeah, shout out to you, Clay. I'm not actually against you neither, Clay. I'm just in the middle, actually, because I don't like it. Let me be quite honest with you, Clay. I don't think I should pay for them. I don't care. But I do know what you said. I don't think that nobody acknowledged your point. It is a protection for myself. Because if there's too many poor people and they feel broke, history shows me that they'll just take us and take over and rob us of everything. So that's a real reality that I understand. And so the negotiation begins, right? And I don't think anybody's objective on this panel to say, I don't care about the homeless. I ain't paying for them at all. They're just wanting to have like, okay, where's our money going? All right, who is this a freeloader? If it is, get out of line. And I don't think, Clay, you like that neither. You don't want no freeloaders bumming on the program, and then that's taken away from what your point is. So I think we're getting lost in just the minutia, but that's negotiations, right? We're supposed to be figuring out, hey, where is this gone too crazy? But if we do look at the government, a lot of the budget is allocated to social programs. Now, if we're making an argument that it should be more, cool, we can engage in a contract and a negotiation. But let us not get lost. We all want to help. Nobody's up here like a minion like me saying, forget all of that. But the reason I say, okay, let's pay them is because I do realize I got to pay for my protection. They're going to come get me.
Yeah.
So,
And
Yeah.
A
Thank you.
Philosophy would like to make his exit, and I've got Angry Man hanging backstage. I'm going to go ahead and let him skip the line if you guys don't mind back there. A, go ahead and give us your final thoughts, and I'll let you exit the panel.
Yeah, so I just said I would leave on the condition I get 2 minutes to kind of state my thoughts. Yeah, I appreciate where Clay's coming from, but unfortunately, it comes from a long line of bad socialist ideas. I think the underlying premise is that if you're not sending your money to these corrupt government officials, then you're not. There's no other way to help people. No, there's lots of other ways of helping. There's way better ways of helping people. What socialism is it's basically it's twofold. It's a way for corrupt politicians to buy votes from people who want to use the government to steal other people's money. That's the game. That's who Bernie Sanders and this guy in New York City. This is who all these socialists are. They're thieves, and they're not out there to help us. So take the money out of their hands, keep it in our hands. And I want to say something about the poor people. Everyone talks about how greedy and corrupt the rich are. Yes, they are greedy and corrupt. But you know what? A lot of times people are poor because of the choices they make in their own lives. Where's the social contract? What's the responsibility on their end? Should we be sending money to people who aren't making the right decisions in their own life? I say, let them face the consequences of their own actions. If they have to suffer, so be it. If somebody doesn't eat, break their plate. And I guess that's about it. Don't be a socialist. It's thievery and it's immoral. Okay, thank you. Bye.
Thank you, A. Angry Man, hello. So glad to have you again.
What's good, everybody?
What
Hello.
How's it going?
chime in? Bring it to the panel. I know you got some heat.
I'm trying to figure out who Clay is talking about. Who are you talking about in America that's poor?
We don't have much. I mean, I believe there's like I mean, and it is subjective. It is, but the poor class is never going to go away. So, like, to believe that there's nobody poor is just, that's not reality. The poor will never go away.
Okay, but poor is subjective.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're talking about poor in a first world country as opposed to poor in a third world country.
Yeah, and that's fair. Yeah,
so
absolutely.
the reason why I'm asking that is because many of the people that are being classified as poor are not really poor as much as they're just lazy
and I've
unwilling to take advantage of the opportunities that's right in front of them.
Yeah, and it's not to encourage people to be lazy at all. So we live in a kingdom, right? And there's a kingdom next door. The kingdom next door to us is super poor. They're always fighting over their scraps. We live in the rich kingdom. And you and I, we sit at the big table, the king's table, right? But Sarah and Carnal Conservative, they eat the scraps, right? It doesn't matter that we are the rich kingdom. What matters is that Sarah and Carnal conservative are also taken care of, so they don't come and snatch our steaks off of our plate.
Oh, well, they're not going to come and snatch the steaks off of my plate because I'm going to dish out a healthy heaping of ass kicking. I'm not worried about that.
Then you don't have a kingdom anymore.
Yo, no, actually I do.
No,
that's the entire reason. That's the entire reason
for you. No, I'm not working for you. I'm going to leave.
That's the entire reason. You said what?
No, I'm leaving.
Hold on.
You said you're not working for me.
That's right.
Oh, well, you don't have to. You'll just get beheaded.
No, you'll be an angry man kingdom of one.
No, I'll be an angry man kingdom of steal my kingdom because I have soldiers that are going to give you a fresh ass kicking the moment you start preaching off of your soapbox.
No, that's tyranny.
Are we literally going to pretend like we don't remember? Well, not remember. Are we going to pretend like we don't know the history of the world?
Yeah, you're acting like you don't.
No, you're acting like you don't. Like,
no, I'm telling you.
Since when has a kingdom had to worry about not being king because some of the poor people didn't like him? The only time you'll see a king be usurped like that is whenever there's an uprising of soldiers, other soldiers that are willing to try to overthrow that king, and it doesn't always work.
France? Did we forget France?
What about France? France is a bunch of punks. Like, bro, did you really just bring up the French?
It was the poor who took that. Yeah, that hit.
Yeah, because they're a bunch of pansies.
Okay,
name a country with hardcore soldiers that actually got taken over by the poor. Go.
Hi,
Russia.
Hi, America. Hi, how you doing?
It was the local elites that
we create our own
America.
It wasn't the
peasants. They weren't poor.
It was an ordinary man who took this country away from the greatest navy in the world. It was the ordinary man. Yes.
No, he wasn't poor. He wasn't a poor man.
We're not
what are we talking about? He wasn't a poor man.
It was the ordinary man. I didn't say poor. In that instance, it was the ordinary man.
In order to start a revolution, we're not poor men, bro.
To Britain, America was broke. Yes.
No, there was a lot of rich people that were there, like George Washington's estate. They were very rich. George Washington was a general.
Hold on.
John Adams' family was very, very rich. Like,
and they had
a lot of the founders.
They had a king.
Hold on. Before we get cantankerous, Evan, I didn't hear anything you said, and I know you are our resident historian. So if you could say it again, that'd be great. Thank you.
All right. One George Washington, like the leader of the Continental Army, he was from a rich Virginia line of plantation owners, and he was a general before the Civil War, so he was a big deal. The Adams family that had John Adams become the second president, he was his family was incredibly rich, also plantation owners. Hamilton became, he was someone who climbed up, but a lot of the founders, like, they either owned breweries, were plantation owners, were wealthy merchants, and they wanted more power for themselves in the colonies instead of having to go and pay a marginal tax to England. England was pretty benevolent with the colonies, and it was only Boston who was rowdy because Boston had a lot of Catholics, which were specifically Irish, who hated the crown.
Are you proud to be an American, Evan?
I am proud to be American because my family fought in the Revolutionary War and got land in Michigan. But if I lived during the time,
about
I wouldn't have done that.
Why would you suggest that those founders were only all about power? Because that's literally what you just said, that they were only seeking power, more power for themselves.
More
that's what everybody does.
More
that's
power.
What everybody does.
Not everybody.
The power that he got from.
Oh my God! Name somebody. Clay.
Can I make one?
Clay, please tell me. Please tell me, Clay. Please tell me. Oh my God! Did you? Which college did you go to, Clay? And what part of communism did they shove down your throat, bro?
But I don't do communism either. I do recognize the social contract, though, which is
this
the Constitution
sounds like
of the United
communism,
States.
bro.
It's the social contract, the Constitution of the United States. Do you not appreciate that?
I got to ask a question here. Well, actually, two
Which
of
part
them.
of the Constitution are you talking about, bro?
Clay, why are you
the welfare clause, the general welfare clause?
Why are you conflating?
Sorry, Beth.
It's okay. I'm asking, why are you conflating the idea that people who are possibly in poverty are going to become thieves? And then how can you talk out of both sides of your mouth saying we should take care of the poor by giving them our shit, but then also saying the poor are going to steal our shit? It's the math isn't working.
Because desperation breeds.
But are we really that desperate? Because I think that what is it here? Something like, so I actually looked this up earlier. 36.8 million people in our country are living in poverty right now. There's something like over. Oh God,
it's like 13%. It's like around 40 million on average, right? Yeah. So the problem with it, and I'm shout out to Angry Man. That's what I was saying. That we're the majority. So if you try to rob me, I'm going to send you to Uncle Charles. Okay, you're going to be taking a long dark walk to whatever believer you believe in. Okay,
but you are brave enough. You don't see all these people living in poverty becoming thieves, is what I'm saying. I think that right down to 54% of working age families earn less than $60K a year. And they make it work. A lot of them make it work. I think.
Well, that's not considered the poverty line, though. And if everyone can hold for just a moment, Evan would like to make his exit from the panel, so we're just going to give him a minute for his final statements.
All right. I'll just say, like on the original topic, when it comes to Americans, I think most Americans are proud of their country, and in that sort of sense, like. America is one of the most preeminent powers in the world, and that gives us a certain prestige. So when American tourists go somewhere, they're like, oh, great, there's an American tourist. They're going to spend money. So they treat them nicer, and they go and they say that they like the country. And there's a lot of people that do like the country. Like, besides Israel, I think America's the second most country that has countries that just go and sings its praises because either they were rebuilt by it, or they are just infatuated with the culture. And I will say, kind of like with the thing coming from like American entitlement within regards to like the financial aspect, I'd say it's just like this is the end product of the consumerism marketing of trying to make people comfortable, trying to keep up with the Joneses. It gives you a sense of entitlement that I need to have what my neighbor has. And it needs to be better. I need to be comfortable. I need to not do as much. And that sense of not going and doing the work yourself kind of makes it so we don't have pride in our work. And that causes a lot of issues. So I'd say that are my general thoughts. I can definitely see where Mr. Fantastic has came along with, especially with the political and dating dynamics, where that can certainly blind like us from like the personal level of not being proud, not being an out-and-out patriot. But I think compared to other nations, Americans are very chauvinistic, which I think is a good thing, and very proud of our nation. Like, look at the Olympics or our local sports teams, and you'll see how much you're proud of where you are. But all right. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you,
Good night,
Evan. I love having Evan on. He's such a sweetheart and always in with the historical drops. I love it. Okay, I did interrupt. So if somebody wanted to take it back, I'll leave it open to you.
I'll be real
I
fast.
still can't believe that Clay brought up the French, bro. The French are like the Jar Jar Binks country of the world, bro. Like the
Yeah, that's a cool
French.
quip.
Like
That's a
seriously?
cool quip. Yeah, I mean it's great. Awesome.
I wanted to clarify real
Hard
quick.
on the
I wasn't
French.
meaning to say that 60K is below the poverty line, but for a family, like we hear a lot about, you need to make X amount to be comfortable. And 60K for a family is typically, there's a lot of people in our country who look at that and they're like, how can you be comfortable on that? Well, people do it on a lot less without resorting to thievery. So I think that we need to reevaluate. Just because you live within poverty, let's say, less than 30K for a family and making it
And
work. That
as
doesn't necessarily mean that the moral integrity or the entitlement is so low that you're going to resort to thievery.
yeah,
Well,
and that's the
oh,
one thing that I was trying to figure out. Like, where have you set the bar at what poor is? Because on one hand you're saying poverty, and in the other hand you're saying poor, which is not necessarily the same thing. Like, what do you mean poor?
There's a reason why I use the word poor and not poverty, because that is subjective. And when I say it's subjective, I mean it's subjective to the person who believes they're poor. So there's the poor in finance, but then there's the poor in spirit. And this is why I mentioned dejected from the beginning, right? So those who are poor in spirit will become dejected, and then, well, they're desperate. And that's the truth of the matter. To deny that fact that there will be poor is just it's a travesty, because especially me as a believer.
oh, hold on. Somebody's got an echo.
But being broke,
Hold on.
but being financially broke is not a prerequisite for being poor in spirit. You can be poor in spirit and not be broke.
Yeah, but then that's what dejected becomes, right? So it becomes dejected. So that's why I, as a believer in the Word of God, I really understand that it is my duty to continue to feed the poor. This is just a naturality of my belief. So when I say, okay, well, the churches ain't really doing it, but the government does have a program for that. Why would I take that away? It is part of my spiritual nature to want the poor to be fed, regardless of whether it's finance.
Because charity is supposed. Look, here's the thing: charity is supposed to be voluntary. You're when you're doing a charitable act, you're doing it because you want to do it. Taking money from people to give to other people is not charity; it's thievery.
Okay,
and not just that,
By
but
a different name.
You made a criticism about food banks. If people are getting that desperate, they're going to take that. At least I would hope they would take that before they resort to the desperation.
I don't disagree.
No,
I don't disagree with that. For the sane person.
Churches more, right?
Can I let Mr. Beans, because you and I just went over this last week, actually, and you are more of an advocate for the system. You believe it's a human right. Did you want to kind of chime in the other direction here?
Because he's a communist.
Aww.
I saw that comment in the chat room. You think I didn't see it?
Mr. Beans was so polite and so sweet last week. We had such a great conversation. He had some good viewpoints on it. I think Clay was agreeable with him. Go ahead, Mr. Beans. I know you got some thoughts.
Well, first of all, I have to say something that I don't really want to have to say, but I'm going to have to do it for the next couple of days. I did some research and I found out that I've been saying something that was completely incorrect. And because I'm not an asshole, I'm going to acknowledge it. Previously, I have been stating that nobody's actual income taxes goes towards the welfare system, but it actually does. I didn't understand transfer payments. Transfer payments are literally social programs like Medicaid, welfare, and things like that. So when the statement says that none of the or that 2/3 of the income tax goes towards waste and transfer programs, that's what it was talking about. So I have to retract that statement. I'm gonna do it on the next couple of shows that I go to. However,
Beans, I will wait.
You can't say but, Beans. You gotta let it go. Let it ride.
Hold on. Let him finish. Let him
Beans,
finish.
I want my apology.
So yeah, probably only because you are who you are. It'll be in the mail. But that being said, there's only really 2 programs that people care about. This is why you only hear them talk about housing and food stamps, right? When I bring up the earned income tax, when I bring up the child tax, they don't care about that. When I bring up Pell Grants, they don't care about that, right? So let's talk about the 2 that people do care about. So for the fiscal year of 2024, you had 139 billion in food stamps, and I think you had housing was 69. So that's 208 billion, right? Well, the deficit is 38 trillion. The interest on that payment last year was $1 trillion. If you take away those 2 welfare programs that y'all care about, you know how much the interest payment would have been? $1 trillion. So this is what I've been trying to explain to people, that even if you remove those programs, your taxes will look the exact same. It's not gonna change at all. So if they taking $550 out of your check, guess what's gonna happen when they remove those programs? They still gonna be taking $550 out of your check.
So Beans, I got a question for you. I got a question for you, Beans. So my question is, where does it come back in then? So you've got these transfer payments, we're sort of looking at how this is impacting a paycheck. Where does that finance actually come back to people like me who want to think that I'm thinking about citizens that are underrepresented, people that don't have the same opportunities? I want to get on with business as usual because of this. Like, where does this finance discussion, whatever it is, come back in?
I'll be honest, that was a very collegiate level question.
From Doc?
It wasn't. If you're going to talk about something, back it up.
No, I'm admitting that I don't understand the question, sir. I'm not attacking you. I'm attacking myself.
Then attack yourself. Say I don't know, right?
I just
did. It's not a collegiate question.
Hold on.
It's not a collegiate question.
Hold
you
on,
don't know.
Doc.
There's a big difference there.
Doc, hold on.
I didn't answer it.
We don't need to attack him. He said he admitted that he didn't understand what you said. So either layman's terms it, or we can see if anyone else has an answer to it.
Okay, so if Donald Trump is talking, because he's really good at talking to the American people on his microphone. If Donald Trump is talking to us, what does he say about welfare payments or social safety net payments that brings the money down to the level that people can have a conversation about it? Because I too don't know. I don't know what a transfer payment is. I don't know any of that stuff.
Yeah, to be honest, man, I really don't know. I just think right now for some reason or another, and I don't really want to get into the politics of things, so I won't go there. But for whatever reason, the country is in real divisive right now because welfare is not hurting anybody. It's not hurting anybody. It's not affecting paychecks like you think it is.
Yeah,
it's really not doing what people think it's doing. And here's the thing about it. Even if it's having a negative effect, like maintaining poor people, that's a benefit to the country. It's not a disservice to the country because the more money more people make, that causes inflation. Things will skyrocket. Things will get out of control. So let me say,
let him finish.
We keep telling people that 6 figures is the mark, but if 6 figures becomes the median income, then a gallon of milk will be $47. So making more, making more money is not.
I already know that. I already know that though, Beans, because and the reason I know that is because I go grocery shopping. What I don't know is what it's like for people to live in fear that their SNAP benefits are going to end, or wondering, why Sean Hannity on Fox News is hosting the guy that is promoting this in some purple state, turn the tide sort of, save America sort of election. Like, I don't understand the social political stuff about that question.
Yeah. Then just say you don't understand and we can move on and somebody else can say something.
That's fair.
Got it. I don't understand, Angry Man.
Sasquatch, could you?
The reason.
Go ahead, Angry Man, and then I'll hand it off.
My fault. Okay. Go ahead, sir.
I was going to let Sasquatch if he wanted to add anything new to the panel, but if you had a thought that you wanted to add in for Doc, I want to let you finish.
I was just going to say that the reason why the country is divisive is simply because the Democrats wanted it to be divisive. Point blank, period. They've been pushing a narrative of divisiveness ever since Donald Trump got elected, the same way they did when he first got elected. Because if they weren't pushing that narrative, it is just like Rome in the Colosseum. People would go back to watching TV and being distracted with their lives. They wouldn't care about politics right now if it weren't for the mainstream media making them care about politics with all of the fear tactics and all of that. And just for the record, Beans, I'm not one of the people that only talk about that program. I'm talking about all of the programs that they overtax the American people to pay for. That's money they send overseas to all of the different countries. Is all of this ridiculous bloat that is the bill is at the foot of the taxpayer in America. It's ridiculous.
So let me say this real quick before we move on. So to Bean's point about what would change, nothing would change for your taxes. No, nothing would change for the taxes, but a lot would change to where the money's being allocated to and where it's going. That's what people is bothered with, okay? You know how we talk about the infrastructure? We have one of the worst electrical grids in the country. I mean, the world. I'm sorry, for as much as strain we have and as much electricity we take up. Taking all that money or a certain portion of that money and reallocating it in other places to be spent on versus those government programs would do a major thing. Everybody complains about the roads. Everybody complains about infrastructure. So taking the money and keeping the tax the same way versus, again, and people only care about the abusers, which again, I admit are not the majority. The majority of recipients, I think, are elderly, right? I think that's the most people, no one's talking about them. We're talking about, though, is not only the money being spent, but the ideology behind it. So when you're a person that says that, oh, it's a human right to depend on everybody else and leech off everybody else, that's problematic. That makes goes to the point of what Clay was talking about, the working class being dejected. Because what the fuck am I working for? If somebody can just sit back, be lazy, get free stuff, why am I getting up every morning doing some shit I don't want to do for the benefit of you? And I'm not saying you specifically, but the other person that refuses to work. So
well, what about your parents, Mr. Fantastic? What about your mom and dad? If your mom and dad had some sort of, if they had some sort of problem, wouldn't you want them to have welfare benefits? Is it, or if
elderly, I said elderly and disabled. I don't know when you got here, but I said that from jump. I have no
50,
issue.
49. What age? What age exactly? What age exactly?
What's the retirement age now? 60 years old?
65, isn't it?
65 or 60? 65 or 60.
Well, but
I think
the one thing I do kind of see as an issue is the assumption that the money would actually be allocated to those things, right? That's the point of the original statement that I was reading wrong, is that so much of it already goes towards waste before even one nickel is spent on roads, schools, military, all of those things that you were just talking about as well, right? So the assumption is that if we get rid of this, then we'll spend the money the right way. But we're not $38 trillion in debt because they spend the money the right way.
And that's actually my bad.
Real quick. And not only that though, but here's the other part of it, right? So I did this thought experiment, Fantastic. You got $1 million. It's two people taking off with your million. One has 200,000 of your million. Another one has 800,000. They running in different directions. You can only stop one of them. Who would you go after? Of course, you would go after the one with the 800,000. So why do we spend our time going after the 200,000? And the reason why I use that example, because welfare is only about 20% of government spending, and we act like that's the problem. right? And I'll say welfare, I'm talking about all 13 of the programs, not just food stamps and housing, right? But we're focusing on the 20% instead of the other 80% where all the waste and extra
No,
is at.
Well,
actually, this
the 80% is carrying its own weight, though. And I wanted to hand it to Obstacles because Obstacles was trying to chime in there. If you wanted to throw that thought.
I really appreciate the main topic, but I would just address this because we keep going back and forth. Look, I think sometimes we don't hear it. Everybody's saying that if somebody really needs the money, they're not saying, if you don't get it. They're saying abuse, waste, fraud, and abuse across all levels of all government activity. And so even if the price is smaller, like 200 versus the 800, like you even said, this is a different perspective. Maybe people just say, hey, this is what I know, and I'm talking about the 200. You're like, nah, but let's tackle the 800. 800 is going to be more complex than tackling $200,000 of financial issues. So if you can't even get in order 200 and say, okay, it's 200 versus trying to get together 800, they're both hard things to figure out. So I think we're just trying to work through it, trying to figure it out. But I don't think nobody's saying if somebody actually needs the help legitimately, they don't want to provide it. America across the board it sends out the most money in the world on their own. Not even counting what the government does. Americans allocate the most money that they can to help people out of all countries and all nations. The statistics have been shown. So again, we just need to have that conversation and realize that. I think we're getting lost in the minutia. We might have disagreed here and there, but we agree taking care of people.
I'll let you finish, Angry Man, and then this time I'm actually handing it to Sasquatch for real this time. Go ahead.
Okay, but
what's up, man?
This is laughable because one of the issues as it pertains to waste is that in the government, whenever they send funds somewhere, if it's the wrong place, they don't get the funds back. And you know how we found out about that? We found out about that because of Doge and Elon Musk, the same guy that y'all demonize. So why would we care about why have a conversation about waste if the moment you get an administration that actually wants to audit the government and look into where the waste is going, you demonize the guy and try to destroy his freaking company because he's trying to figure out where the waste went.
Who did that?
Doge and what's the name? So again, you literally just had
who's the people who demonized them?
Yeah, who's the people who demonize
all government workers?
Demonize what's the name? Well, no, yeah, I'll go after the Squatch guy. Squatch got to go, and then I'll go after him.
Go ahead, Squatch. Did you have something to add in?
I mean, I came in to address the actual topic on the prompt, and I'd like to start with that.
Sure.
If you'll go back and watch some of the Yuri Bezmenov interviews, you'll discover exactly what happened to America. The Department for Education was subverted, and it went south from there. You have two sides to every situation, and only one side can reproduce. The other side has to indoctrinate your children, and that's what they did. That's why there's many unproud Americans. They've been taught to be unproud. They've been taught that America's history is some kind of ist. And choose your ist. You can paint it with whatever color you want. It doesn't really matter. Whichever one you hate the most and can get most worked up about, emotional language and stuff. But when it comes to the benefits situation, like Obstacles to Opportunities was saying, nobody's saying kick off Grandma Stinson. Grandma Stinson should be on welfare. We all agree, and it shouldn't be a problem. What we're saying is like the 22-year-old welfare queen with 5 kids, maybe she ought to kind of buckle down a little bit, but let's look at it from the perspective of population.
Who the fuck is that, Sasquatch? Who is that? Who's the
Yo, mama
queen that you're talking about?
Me, Doc. I will roast you.
My fucking mama. Yeah, shut the fuck up, bitch. Yeah.
Go ahead.
I don't know who this person is.
Go ahead, Sasquatch. Finish your thought.
If you're gonna set me up like that, I'm taking the shot, bro. Anyway, what I'm getting at is we're still in a population deficit, and you have to balance your welfare programs against the need for additional population without overburdening the system with immigration. And I'm done.
Yeah, so
I think that
so
was a
to the
fair question, though, Squash, to be honest with you, man. That's
What
what
was
I'm
a fair
saying.
question?
The thing
yeah.
that really makes this, to me, the conversation kind of disingenuous is when I'm telling you, do a disservice to the argument when y'all say, well, we're just talking about the ones who abuse it. Because that number is so nominal that if you get rid of every single, watch this. See, people don't like math. If you got rid of every single person who was abusing it and who was on it for too long, right? How much money would that be, sir? Obstacles, since you're shaking your head. How much
Probably
money?
40% of it. Probably 40% of it. 40% of the money.
40% of
But
what?
the
The
math,
budget?
here's the thing, but the math
but can
doesn't
I
say
throw
that,
it back at you though? But
right?
if these people, hold on, if these people were actually active employees and harnessing income tax, we'd actually have more put back into the system than being brought out. So they are they're a drain on our ecosystem. They're not putting back into it.
But again, Sarah,
If they
that's
were,
wishful.
but see, if they were employed, like they would be getting the like more people would be putting into the pot versus taking out of it.
Sarah, again, that's
Mr. Beast.
wishful thinking, right? The problem is that we make it seem like, oh, if it wasn't for welfare, these people would be Elon Musk. No, it's a reason why they in the position that they in, and it ain't the welfare. That's just who they are. They were never going to be these overachievers anyway, right? But
Opportunity is there.
No, but wait, do me a favor. Don't run from the math. Obstacles. If we got rid of all of the people abusing it, what's the dollar amount? How much is that yearly?
I'm not going to do
You
your
ask me, or is it?
Yes, you're the only one on the panel named obstacles.
Well, whatever you said, because you said 200, right? So when you said the 20%
No,
versus
I said
80%.
208 billion was the total number for housing
Okay, so that's the
and
number.
food stamps.
So
But
It doesn't
everybody
matter.
abusing
It
it.
doesn't
So I'm saying,
matter what the exact
what I'm
amount
saying is
is.
you're missing, Beans. This is why humans are very funny. You're keep going back, and there's some debate about us because we wanted to tackle a problem that's a smaller number. Okay, we tackle a problem. You know how you eat an elephant one bite at a time. So if we get
No,
the
you
small
don't.
target first,
No, you don't. That
okay,
doesn't mean
all right,
anything.
cool.
Hold on,
See,
Josh
this
with the
is humans,
interjection.
right?
Go ahead,
So
Josh.
what
Shut
I'm
the
just
fuck up.
saying is, if somebody gets a small target first, and then we get the large target later, we done it. Now you're saying, well, let's get the large one first. Okay, we get it. We get the large one first. People still want to get the small one. Let's just deal with the fraud and the waste and abuse, period, regardless of its number. I know you saying it's not effective and efficient as targeting the large number first, but you see we're having contention off of that. So let's go where we can get the damn job done instead of going back and forth, which target we should hit first. That's all I'm saying. I'm not even against
It doesn't matter.
I got it. But what I'm saying is this. Let me give you it. This is why I gave you the example earlier, right? Which I don't even want to reiterate it because I don't think nobody's going to answer it genuinely, right? But you're saying if there's a fly on my arm and a and a bull raging at me, let me worry about the fly. Let me go out of my way to get this fly off.
Hold on. I think
I'm
Angry Man
saying
wanted to add into that.
It's easier to attack the fly. That's simple. That's nothing to do because all you're doing is just saying, well, we're just going to cut off people's benefits and there's nothing they can actually do about it. But over here in this other area, there's real accountability. You're over here, you're going to really stop some people from pocketing money for real and not no $200 in food stamps, right? But real money, real waste. Right?
Yes.
So, and I'm saying, y'all, it's easier for people to punch down. That's why you want to focus on 200 billion instead of the trillion. That makes no sense at all. None.
Go ahead, Angry Man.
That's a false equivalency because number one, it doesn't matter how much the amount is. If you got rid of the waste and fraud of people abusing the welfare system, it doesn't matter how much the amount is because that amount would be in the green instead of the red. That's the point. It would be in the green instead of the red. And saying that you don't want to handle the small issue first, you want to handle the big issue first. Giuliani literally cleaned up New York handling the small issues first. Broken window method. By attacking the smaller problems, he was able to clean up the damn city. So this idea that you don't want to attack that, it's really just making an excuse for it. And I've witnessed with my own two eyes. This is not me. I'm not some person that's some economist that's looking at our community through a microscope. I've been there and I watch as people abuse the system. And part of the reason it pisses me off is because coming up, ain't nobody give me shit. But I sat back and I watched as people abuse the system on a regular basis. And I'm the one, I'm standing in line. Me and my wife are standing in line back in the day buying groceries, and we're having to cut coupons and try to budget. And there's literally a chick in front of me whipping out an EBT card with a cart full of junk food, Hot Pockets and all types of goofy shit. And we're trying to figure out how we're going to get enough food to last the damn week on the money that we have. It's ridiculous. And when you said,
then why don't you do that? Why don't you fix that? What is this non-JFK, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country? You're going to complain about groceries and not do shit about it?
Yeah, I'm going to complain about groceries because I'm going to complain about groceries because I have to eat to live. You fucking asshole! Like, do you
go to the church? Get the charity.
Just angry? Do you have like a gerbil up your ass or something? Because every time you respond to somebody, you respond with yes, you.
Me?
Yeah, you.
I agree, man.
Hold on. Let me reset.
I was the angry man.
What about and let me do a couple super chats first, and then I will ask a question to the panel. Tom Carpenter says, new plan, the Raging Tomato goes non-profit, then we can all get tax deductions for our donations. If you are a content creator, your super chats are tax deductible, by the way. It's free advertisement. Tom Carpenter also says, just give yourself a huge salary as the non-profit president. Not a bad idea. SKC says, if you get rid of welfare fraud, you also get rid of black market crime. It funds well. The criminal market costs a lot of money. Any thoughts on that one quickly?
1,000% correct.
A lot of people selling food stamps.
Yeah,
that don't exist, do it, Beans.
And Tom Carpenter says with the big 20, forget rid of concept and enable/equip concept instead. Let's just do a simple thing. Require those on benefits without disability more than 6 months attend free GED course, college courses, etc. Child care during class. Mr. Beans, I think you spoke of this program though, and you said it was kind of like bullshit.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was reading some data. What does it say?
Require those on benefits without disability more than 6 months attend free GED course, college courses, etc. Child care during class, yada yada yada. Like basically, let's help you get back up on your feet. System
to do what? Go work at Walmart? Like, how many underwater welding jobs do y'all think there are? Right? 6 figures isn't the median income because there's millions and millions and millions of $250,000 a year jobs. Like, that's not how that works. The median income is what it is because that's what most businesses pay. They don't pay a lot of money. So what you want people to do? Only 40% of people with graduate degrees actually have a job in the career that they got their degree in.
Now, in fairness, I do actually
like let people be content, bro. It's okay. What I'm saying is, and I'm so glad that Obstacle said this because it's going to prove my point, that people are crying over a teardrop. They're crying over a drop in the bucket. Some shit that don't even really matter to them at all, ain't affecting them in no way. They can't accept it because they need to punch. They need to be able to talk about.
You know how much I pay in taxes?
They're not going to do that, right?
No, we used to.
I might offend the people who I want to sit next to. Right.
We used to say that. These are just sick people. We used to say these are sick people who can't manage themselves.
Hey,
you guys remember those days?
Doc.
He looked like Jesus.
I will put you backstage and bring up the next person if you keep interrupting. Beth and then Clay, because they were already trying to chime in earlier, and then to you, Doc. Beth, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Sarah. We can actually make this even better and by promoting OC's courses within our high schools. You know, like our high school, the school my kids went to, offers welding in high school. They have their own auto lift on school grounds. You know, if we started putting, I mean, we all have to pay school taxes anyway. So if we focus more on giving the kids that jump start in high school, including offering some early on college courses, I think we'll start seeing a better, you know, turnout with that stuff.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's fair
Clay?
too. Yeah, so in all fairness, this is a program that more or less does exist. Like, so with most states, I don't know about every state, most states do require you to go and put in applications, and then or they have schooling requirements, something. You have to do something in order to keep those benefits. And so but with that said, there's also the abuse. And so when we're talking about this situation, we are talking about the abusers. We're not talking, let's bring it back to the actual issue, which is the abusers. And I like that Bean keeps bringing this up because it is a drop in the bucket. And I don't have a problem with attacking the drop in the bucket. I don't have a problem with that at all. I'm saying that you're not going to get rid of every molecule of that drop either. So it is worth looking at. It's worth getting into, but don't take the whole bucket away either.
Bro, I wouldn't care if it was a vapor of the drop in the bucket. It's my goddamn drop.
If we can't
I get to determine where that damn drop goes. This is bullshit, bro.
No,
And
it's
you're
not
talking
just
about-
yours.
Hey, hold on.
This is
And you're
fallacy right
wait,
here.
you're talking about. You're sitting here talking about. What was the thing you just said a second ago?
You really believe there's no social contract, don't you? You believe it's your drop only.
You said what? I'm not talking about everybody else's drop. I'm talking about my drop. That contributed to the rest of the rest
so
of the
get the fuck
bucket.
out of my country then.
You said what? Huh?
Get the fuck out of my country then. If you don't like the social contract, get the fuck out. It's that simple.
But why?
Let me hand it over. Hold on, because Duck was waiting. Duck was waiting patiently. I want to let him chime in real quick, and then we'll hand it back to Angry Man. Sorry, you gotta go. Duck, you're muted.
Duck.
There we go. Okay, so this is like one of the cases I agree a ton with Clay. I agree with Mr. Beans here, and the reason is we used to say that look, what Tom's doing in his very generous super chat. Tom, we dab on that, but what this is doing is solutioning something that either isn't a problem or it doesn't have a direct solution like you're talking about. And a lot of people see, Mr. Fantastic said, we all have Trump derangement syndrome too. And so this is the weird thing is, we should believe unemployment is a complex sort of social, psychological, evolutionary thing. It's an economic thing. There's a lot of reason people decide to do different types of things. There's a lot of ways that they develop their own worldview and life philosophy around work and around, playing a role in a society. Those are intuitive things most people just understand. And so it's weird when we say that it makes common sense to have GED and college programs now in place. And, instead of saying this, we can just say, why don't we support the people that need to be supported because it is a small problem. I'm not a crazy person for thinking Donald Trump, the mid-tier real estate guy who invested in 3 asset classes, shouldn't be president. He's reckless. He's dangerous. He's leading us off a cliff. And I'm comfortable with the social safety net. And and Mrs. Angry Man in the background, no offense, he's got his little dolls. He's got his little studio set up. This is the reason that we don't have good conversations is because I'm crazy if I agree with Clay and Mr. Beans. I'm crazy if I want to have a conversation with Beth or Sarah. I'm not crazy for, whatever it is, kicking out all of the immigrants in the United States. That's a crazy idea. Welfare isn't.
So
how's it crazy?
We're gonna let Mr. Angry Man cook for a couple minutes. I know he's got it.
So first and foremost, great value, Charles Manson. Don't hate on my little collection. I'm an American and I'm free to do as I please. So Don't hate on my collection. You feel me? I can't help it if you don't have any personality. Going back to Clay, how is it your country and not my country? I'm just curious.
Well, you were just saying before that it's your money.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's my money too. Yeah, I earned it too, and I earned it too. Yeah, I get to say what goes where it goes to. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I get
you
to
get
vote
to
that the
say
poor
where
get fed.
your money goes.
I get to vote that the poor get fed with my money. Yes,
not my money.
Yes,
yours, not mine.
So look at it this way. Okay, fair enough. So look at it this way. Your money is going to defense. My money is going to feed the poor. There you go.
Right.
There's your solution.
No. That's cute. That's cute, but
you don't like that?
No, that's
like
cute, but
solutions?
that doesn't
That's a good
work.
solution.
I'm sorry, that doesn't work. It works if you're talking to a 5-year-old. That doesn't work, bro. Because number one,
5-year-old doesn't get fed because you don't feed him. Dumbass.
Check this out. It doesn't matter. Like, bro, you're so lucky that I'm not a race baiting dude. I said this last time, bro, because you as a white guy telling me to get out of your country was nasty work, bro. I could have went all the way in. I spared you, bro, because I actually like you, Clay. I spared you, bro.
Nothing.
But no,
You're
but
gonna bitch
listen.
about it on the internet. You're gonna bitch
No,
about
but
it on
listen.
the internet. Here we go. Here we go.
Let's go. Let's
Can we
go.
talk it out, or are you just
Let's
gonna go ham on me?
So number one, okay, if I go out here and I farm all of my drops that go into the bucket, okay?
Yes.
I know that those drops are going into the bucket to be allocated wherever, because it's all of our drops that are accumulated so that they can be allocated, because we know the government doesn't really produce anything, right?
Sure.
Fair enough. However, would you agree that taxation without representation is robbery?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So if I know that my drops are going to certain places I don't want them to go, because I've seen with my own eyes people abusing said drops, are you honestly telling me that I don't have the right to be like, no, my drop shouldn't be allocated over there because this is going on? At the very least, y'all need to look into this and get all of this cleaned up.
Yeah, you're more than welcome to make the argument, and then we can put it to a vote.
Absolutely. Well, absolutely. You're 100% right. We can put it to a vote. However, we just recently put it to a vote, and who got elected?
Very good. Yeah, very good. Yes.
Who got elected?
I don't have a problem with who got elected.
So when he got elected, what's one of the main things he wanted to do?
Well, cut a lot of spending. Yeah, I know that. Yeah, that's
no,
not a problem.
The first thing he wanted to do is he wanted to bring somebody in so that he could see where all the drops were being allocated.
I love it. I love it.
Was he able to do that without any pushback?
No, he was not.
What was the guy that he brought in demonized?
He was. Absolutely.
Okay, so guess what that means? That means that I, the American, because I was born here, just like you.
Right.
That went and farmed all of my little droplets and put them in. I said, hey, I'm voting for this guy because I want to make sure that the money I send out is going where it's supposed to go. And every person in this country that gave him hell and gave him pushback, is that not circumventing my vote and the will of the people?
No, not at all. Everybody else has a voice as well.
They have a voice, but they don't have the right. They have a voice, but if we elect someone to do a certain thing and that person was elected, they don't have the right to then usurp what he's trying to do if it's within the confines of the Constitution, right?
And the law, right? Correct. Yes, as long as it's lawful. I agree. Yep.
Then why are you giving me shit about
I don't agree. Because I don't agree with taking the food away from the people. It's that simple. It's not a wise decision.
And this is where the problem is. You're not taking food away. You know what you're taking away from a lot of the people that get this particular thing when we're talking about SNAP? You're taking away a luxury. You're taking away a privilege. You're not taking away a necessity in many cases.
Okay, and
that's the point. You're speaking about it as if, look, I said this earlier today. You guys are acting like the average person on SNAP benefits is sitting in a hovel with a freaking candle trying to keep warm, and there's a crust of bread in the cupboard. That's not what's going on, bro. You literally have people that go get food stamps simply because they don't want to spend money, cash money on food.
Yes, and I agree with that. That's waste, fraud, and abuse. Right. Yes. And I'm not
That's what I got a problem with.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to getting rid of that. So case by case, but not just cutting a whole bunch of this. So
Can I make
I'll give you another analogy. So
there's a
driver's license. So not everybody drives for business, right? But everybody wants to be able to drive, right? So should we take everybody's license away who wants to just drive for personal reasons?
No, but driving is a privilege. Driver's license is a privilege as well.
Well, you just said the benefit is a privilege as well, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're not going to just take people's privileges just because they want to have it for fun or for personal reasons.
Privileges all the time when they do something incorrectly.
When they break the law, right?
You drunk drive, or you drive recklessly, or hell, sometimes you don't even got you could owe child support, and we take that privilege away from you.
Exactly. Yes.
The only time we have look, this is what I noticed. When it comes to the working class, the middle class, working class, we're the ones that's underrepresented. We're the ones that catch hell if we do anything wrong. It is only when you start getting to what we consider to be the lower class that we have a dozen excuses for why they're in the situation that they're in. Whether they're involved in criminal activity, whether they're involved in fraud, there's always a damn sob story when it comes to the lower class. A person in the lower class could commit 10 crimes and get out on no cash bail. But if I, a working class man, or anybody that's a blue collar worker, if you steal a candy bar out of a damn store, you're going to get 5 years in prison.
So why do we focus? Do you know why we focus so much on the poor?
Yeah, because the Democrats love to play this little goofy game. The Democrats and the left, they love to focus on the poor because they know how to weaponize victimhood. They know how to weaponize all of that crap for their own purposes.
No. We focus on the poor because we have an ethical value in this country. That's why we focus on the poor.
Yo, my forebears were slaves, bro. I ain't trying to hear that ethical bullshit. So you gotta save that
my
for somebody
forebears
else,
freed your forebears.
You said
because
what?
of an ethical value. My forebears freed your forebears because of an ethical value. Now you're saying you don't give a damn about the ethical value.
But my forebears would have never been slaves if the unethical would have listened to the ethical ones back then.
Buy your forebears from other forebears of yours? Didn't buy them?
Sasquatch, did you have something to chime in on that?
Yeah, I think we're on the wrong side of the drops here. I mean, I get what Angry Man's saying. He wants some control of what his tax dollars go to do. And I hear what Brick's saying is that feeding the poor is exactly what the tax dollars should do. But Beans was saying that the fraud and abuse in the entitlement system is just a drop in the bucket compared to the system. But if we can't catch that one drop, how do we have any control over what the system's doing in the first place?
You don't.
That's a fair assessment.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Tom Carpenter says, I'm not crying over anything myself. I actually want to help people like people helped me when I was young. Happy to help people who can't find work, learn new skills along the journey myself. I think that's the best approach in terms of I think Beth had a great idea in terms of like the trade schools that they teach early on in high school. I've seen those programs myself. They work very well. I've seen a lot of high schoolers come out and end up employed very quickly. And in the trades system, which is where we really need most of that help to begin with. And it's not a saturated arena right now, and we need to fill those seats. Sear Tice, I think, says parents, if they really wanted to change, then curriculum would show up at school board meetings. Less than 10%. Fox outrage at its finest. Anyone have a thought on that one?
You mean like the parents that get arrested when they try to show up and speak on
Not all parents get arrested.
Not all, but there's been some notable cases of it happening in recent years.
Sure.
Yeah.
But you still go there. They can't get everybody. You go there. You make your voice heard.
I agree. I agree.
I
And
heard
it's
somebody
worth
say
it.
the other day that the money is what funds the curriculums. So now it's just the parents showing up. As long as they show up, then they'll get all the best curriculum.
Oh no, there's other activities involved, sir, and I think you understand that.
No, I'm looking at what that said.
Well, aren't we too busy fighting?
Yeah.
There's a lot of LGBTQ stuff that we're too busy having to fight and focus on, that we can't focus on the actual things that matter. I think that's a good step right there.
Sarah,
It's worse
Sarah,
than that, Sarah, because
we can't.
go ahead, sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. You haven't.
I was just going to say, on that very note, they were unaware in our school district that there was a teacher who was teaching the gender studies as part of biology in high school until this year. And I think it's because there are some people within the school districts who bank on the idea that both parents are going to be at work. And then they've gone vastly paperless in schools now as well. So you need to be able to see what's going on that school Chromebook if it comes home, in order to keep up with what your kids are being taught, and then have the time to go to the board meetings and hope you don't get arrested when you get upset because they're teaching your kids gender studies.
That's fair. Jason Reeves says, I always find it funny. The poor want to tell the rich how to be successful. I literally paid 6 digits in taxes from one check. Ouch. Any thoughts to that?
Yes, absolutely. This is where I get to send my thank you to Fantastic for actually answering the question that I asked Obstacle by giving me a percentage, which was 40. So again, the only two, despite what Angry Man said, the only two welfare programs that people even talk shit about or care about is food stamps and housing. That's 208 billion. He said 40% of that is abuse. So that's 80 billion. Sir, if we took that 80 billion out, you know how much you would have paid out of that one check? 6 figures.
Beans, is anybody saying that's the only solution that we want to implement?
That's why we can't get anywhere.
That be the whole
Well,
solution.
we can't get anywhere because you don't want to acknowledge truths. Right?
No, we acknowledge it, but we just say that's good. Let's get to the next.
So if it doesn't change anything, then why argue it? Why?
Because one action doesn't change everything. Like that's not how it works.
You're looking for a single solution. There isn't.
I'm not looking for anything because we're not even talking about solutions. I'm questioning the process now, and I'm saying if you're admitting that it's not going to change what you all are complaining about. The people are complaining. Here's the thing. I'm sorry, Obstacle. I don't want to. As a matter of fact, I apologize because I never heard you say this, so I don't want to put this on you. So I'm gonna say it this way, Obstacle. The complaint that a lot of people have is that it's coming out of their pocket, and that's what I'm saying. If you're just arguing that you don't like to see it, then that's a whole nother argument that I necessarily can't even have with you because you're probably just an asshole. Because why are you paying attention to that if you're doing so well? But if you are complaining about what's coming out of your pocket, I'm saying if you get rid of the abuse, the same amount of money will be coming out of your pocket. So why would you focus on that? Why would you focus on the thing that even if you change it, won't affect you at all? Why not?
Let me just say this real quick, Angry Man.
Go ahead, Obstacles.
It was simple. When Doge actually, let's go to people who actually did this, not people who just sat at home and just had conversations in the panel. When actual Doge went out and did stuff like that, they targeted small numbers, and they target this one, and then they got this goal, and they got this goal, and it was guess what? It was rubbers in South Africa. It was handing out condoms over here. It was taking care of AIDS tests over here in this random country. Small little stuff. Lab rats. Whether they were going to be homosexual or not, they were targeting all these little small things. It wasn't a 500 billion and trillion out the gate. It was just this. And guess what happens? Let's count. 1 bean, 2 bean, 3 beans. And then at the end of the goal, they ended up with a large target, which is how much is Doge right now? They got it on a website where you can go see 300 billion or something like that, right? So that made a difference. But it was one small drop and bite at a time. It's complex. The government says, I hear you. You want, let's go to the 800. How about you go, Beans? You go get the 800 started, and then we'll go over here and get the 100 started. And then at the end of the day, we'll get rid of it. But guess what? All this whole time, everybody's been answering the solution. I must talk to the panel, through the panel. People have been offering, sign up for GDB. What is it? Go with GED, 6 months. Somebody else said, hey, I don't agree with it. Clay said, get out the country. You said, oh, no, that's stupid. People don't use college degrees. So every time somebody's at least trying to say, hey, there's my 2 cents. I think we can do some education. Somebody tell them, shut up. Clay tell them, get out the country. So it's like we can't get anywhere. You don't see that happening during this whole conversation?
Well, no, we can't get somewhere. What you're failing to acknowledge is that we all have.
I'm failing.
Approach. Yes, because here's what I'm saying.
Okay, gotcha.
Because here's what I'm saying. You're saying this. Here's the contention. You're on the side of get rid of it. I'm on the side of don't get rid of it. So yes, any answer or solution that you come up with to me can kiss my ass respectfully, because I don't. It's not important. It's $80 billion on a $38 trillion deficit.
It's absolutely important.
You hate math. That's
it's
why y'all won't acknowledge it.
It's absolutely important because it's not just the money side. It's not just.
Go ahead, Angry Man.
Government spending on an annual basis.
It's not just that side of it. And it's really funny how intellectually dishonest you're being, Beans. And you know it's not just one side of it. You know why it's not just that? It's not just that because the entire welfare structure decimated the Black community. Decimated it. And it continues to instill a level of entitlement in Black people that does not serve them well. When you have us engaging in that particular program, it gives us just enough to survive, but not enough to thrive. So you have a group of people that get a level of entitlement where they don't want to achieve. They don't want, because what you just say a few minutes ago, well, what are they going to do after that? What are they going to do? You've already made up your mind that a portion of people that receive these sort of benefits are going to be stuck in that same level. So they might as well mooch off of everybody else because they're not going to do nothing else. And that's where that mentality comes from. It comes from that whole welfare system.
You don't get to make the argument that the welfare system decimated the Black community.
I absolutely do.
It does.
I absolutely do.
Okay, I'll tell you why. Because you and I absolutely have had these conversations as opposed to me and obstacles. And I know for a fact that when we talk about the drug game, you say that shit was a choice. So is this. So you don't get to blame this and say this decimated the Black community. You have to say the choices that people made using it may have decimated the Black community, but not the welfare system itself. Because
actually, I can
point to other communities and say that it didn't decimate them, then that means there were choices that we made that participated in the decimation.
That's a little bit of a leap. That's a little bit of a leap. And the reason why I say that is because when you're talking about people participating in the drug game, one could argue that a lot of those youth that were in the 80s wouldn't even been participating in the drug game had it not been for the welfare system that decimated the Black community. Because first and foremost, by the time you get to the 80s, if you would have had more households that actually had fathers in the household, a lot of times they wouldn't have ended up being dope dealers. So yes, I can make the argument because when you look at 1964, 1965, you look around the time they had the Voters' Rights Act, around the time they revamped the welfare system, you can literally see, you can watch as the Black community is on an upward climb from Reconstruction all the way to the 1960s. By the time you get to the 70s, after the revamping of that welfare system, you see a sharp decline in the Black community, not just in achievement, but also you see a upward trend in single parent households, single mother households. So
I know what happened, right?
You said what?
I know what happened. But what I'm saying is we can't say in one area that it's about choice, and then in the other area, blame the system. We
Yeah,
either got to
absolutely
blame the
can.
system or we got to blame people in their choices, right? So on this one, I'm just going to agree with
No,
y'all.
that's not right.
Don't agree, right? Is that there's a choice to be made. Not every single person who got welfare made the choices that decimated their family. Some people used it for the purpose that it was made for. Some people got over it, whatever, right? I'm not disagreeing with you with what happened. I'm just saying I'm putting the accountability on the people, right? Because at the end of the day, it's anecdotal. But when I was a kid, everybody in my family was on welfare. You know how many of them on it now? Me.
I wanted to give Chuck the
That's it.
opportunity. He's raised his hand a couple times. Chuck, did you want to chime something in?
Well, I didn't want to be disrespectful, but last time I checked, defense spending was 13% of the budget. Social programs were 25% of the budget. So people want to pick on the defense spending as the problem. And like somebody pointed out a while ago, there's a lot of abuse in the social as well as the defense side. If we could eliminate some of that, that'd be great. I don't know how. I don't know how we would. The other thing I wanted to point out is I'm older than most of y'all. But back in the day, the more babies you had, the more welfare you got. Therefore, it was advantageous for the father not to be around in order to increase the income of that family. They have since changed that. Now, mind you, when I got out of service in 80, whatever hell year that was, 83, 80, no, not 83, 85, 86, I had a degree and I had umpteen years of technical training. And when I got out, I couldn't find a damn job. So I took a job digging ditches because I could have went on welfare, but I was bred that you only get what you put into it. So I took that job digging ditches, $10 an hour, which was fine. And I had two kids at the time. And we managed. And I kept striving and building to make myself better. The last year that I worked, I was making, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say
Oh,
that
I thought you had your finger up.
that actually speaks to Mr. Fantastic's American Pride concept, because it was like the American dream and we sold on it, like a hardworking father, two and a half kids and a dog and a white picket fence, right? Like, but you have to go through and earn it via the American dream. That's why people come here to the United States, to earn that American dream. And I think you are the exact definition of what that is.
Correct. And I remember a time when I was in the service, I was barely in. I was making $4,500 a year. And I had to humble myself to get on this thing where they called it back then, WIC, Women and Infant Children, because I didn't make enough money to feed them. We fed the kids, and me and the wife ate beans and rice for a long time because we made sure the kids had real food. And a lot of that is lost nowadays. Now, the last year that I worked, I was up in the six figures. And I don't say that to be bragging or anything, but that's what I worked myself up to after all the years of working. And I had 14 years in the service and 27 years working at a steel mill. But I worked my way up to that point, and then I got hurt. And thank God that I had worked and paid into Social Security in order to get the disability payment that I paid into. Otherwise, I don't know what we'd be doing. But that's neither here nor there. I'm just saying the zeal for to go out and earn a day's pay for a day's work.
Question.
I've seen is lost. Go ahead, Beth.
I wanted to ask you, like, the entitlement factor. that we see today, like what was that like back around the time that, like when you were younger and even when you were getting out of the military?
There wasn't no entitlement. People weren't expecting handouts. Hand-ups is one thing. Handouts, no. And a family had pride. I don't care how rich they were or how poor they were or middle class. People weren't looking for handouts. They were looking for a hand up. You know, it was what Sarah talked about, the American dream. Has it died? I don't know. But the neighborhood I left 5 years ago, these quote unquote men, and I was the last white family in this neighborhood. But these men, and even the whites that were there before then, took pride in teaching their children how to be drug dealers as opposed to be productive citizens. Because it's what's in it for me, what makes life simpler. And I think we've lost that along the way. Call me old fashioned, but there is something to that. Hey, you're not much younger than me, Sasquatch.
Jason's. You want to?
No, go ahead. No, go.
Jason says he can't figure that the debt won't keep going, so over time the payments get smaller. I think that was in to the kind of drop in a bucket amount in the going through Doge. I believe that was the comment there. Anybody have a quick thought to it?
Well, I was trying to say earlier is we're not going to find like one thing we can cut that's going to fix the debt problem. It's going to be a lot of small cuts that add up over time. We're in a position now where we can choose our austerity measures to handle our debt. Whereas if we just keep letting the debt balloon and balloon and balloon, we're not going to have such charitable options for dealing with our debt.
We can't deal with the debt. If you understand the central bank structure, it's actually impossible to pay off the debt. There's not enough money in existence to pay back the money that it is owed plus interest.
I'd be interested to hear you break that down for me because I don't understand how that's true.
Okay, I'm happy to, but
I mean, I actually would be interested, but maybe we could do that on your channel.
I'll do that for you.
I'll schedule it.
You want to get through the
Okay. Tom says, how about we don't get rid of it or not get rid of it, but we reform it with the focus on actually helping people? I would be all in on that. But again, Mr. Beans, we had you here Thursday night saying that those programs weren't really anything good. Nobody really does them, and they're kind of like a hogwash system that isn't really helpful. I mean, and how can you help somebody who doesn't want to help themselves either? I mean, unless you made it mandatory. Any thought there?
It's like y'all said, listen, go work to be poor. Don't just be poor. I mean, I could dig it, but
that's fair.
You're working, you're not going to be poor. That's the point. If you're working, you're not. See, here's the thing. When he said reform it so that we can help people, this country is just like that scene from Scarface when Tony looked around at Miami and he's like, this place is just one big coochie waiting to get fucked. and that's what America has become. Everybody just looks at America like one big coochie just waiting to screw it. The people that come here from other countries, they stand in line to get their screw in. People that already live in the country, they in line to get their screw in. And then you know who's getting screwed? All of us that's working and paying taxes. We're the ones that's getting screwed.
That's fair. Snow sends in the Big Ten just to say round 2. Ding, ding. Not
Quick
sure
question.
who's going through round 2, but it might hurt.
Quick
Yeah, go ahead. Question.
Have any of y'all ever been to a food bank? I'm talking about to receive food on this panel.
Yeah.
No.
Other than me.
Yes.
Okay. When I used to track this because I worked with a local organization where I live, and they were actually better off when it was still private, like churches and things like that, private food banks before the government got involved. Now they don't hardly have the resources in order to provide food for people that are in need. And I realize the government's picking up the slack, so it's kind of shifted from the private charitable organizations over to the government, and it's gotten worse.
I see a huge difference between like we live down in a much bigger city that's like in the next county over from where we live now for like 10 years. And the food banks down there were vastly different from the ones up here. Where I am now, the Amish farmers come in and drop off produce, the hunters drop off meat. Like there's actually good stuff there, along with all of the almost expired stuff that ends up there, as well as the the canned goods that last for still have several years on them and whatnot.
That's
So
fair.
I think it goes to the community.
Simply put says everyone, especially Clay and Beans, and Clay is now officially hanging out backstage. Go read Basic Economics by Thomas Sowell. It lays all of this out perfectly with real life examples. Dusty, did you have a thought to add in on that?
Thomas Sowell's awesome. I recommend anything by him. Yep.
Agreed.
Fair enough. And Gold says, Mr. Fantastic, open your eyes, sir, so you can see the desk when your face lands on the keyboard. Are you falling asleep, Mr. Fantastic?
Nah, I'm
He's chilling. You brought a great topic to the table, and everybody wants to chime in on it. I would just let them chime in. It makes it work, right? And Mr. Charles says, is everybody named Mr. here? Don't you guys believe these food stamps are causing people on welfare to become more unhealthy? Anyone have a thought to add in?
Absolutely. And you know what's funny about this? What's funny about this is when I was a kid, when I was I say in elementary school, my grandmother was on Social Security. She got about $300 a month. She qualified for $10 in food stamps. $10. My mother is currently disabled. She doesn't qualify for food stamps. My father is a disabled veteran. He doesn't qualify for food stamps. So when y'all start talking about the people that's on food stamps that desperately need it, you have to excuse me because I don't know who the fuck you're talking about.
Oh, you're
the only people I see that get thousands of dollars of food stamp a month are chicks that have a bunch of babies. That's who I see getting food stamps. I don't see any of the people. I don't see any of the people that really need it getting it.
There's a store where I lived, like I said, 5 years ago. And if you had food stamps, you could go in there and get 50% of face value. And now this was before the credit card thing, the EBT card, whatever they call it.
Paper bills.
People would be lined up with their food stamps to cash them in for cash.
Yep. There's places there you can get. There's places in a lot of cities where you can get weave. You can get products that aren't even food with your EBT card. Yeah.
Yeah, I just saw a news article.
Back.
I feel like
left that out.
I feel like
if cash also.
With that, I think there's because I think we should have regulations that prevent that from happening. And I think your options should be limited, right? If you're going to rely on our tax dollars, to feed you, I think your options should be limited.
There is regulations. They're not being enforced.
They're I mean, they are now that they have cards, right? It's a lot easier to enforce it.
That's
right.
Well, not when it comes down to what it is that you're buying. I mean, look at that lady who was just caught buying tons of soda and dumping it out in the parking lot.
He obviously don't know how the food stamps finesse work.
You don't know how it works.
You don't know how it works.
How does it work?
I do.
A day in my life, but allegedly, somebody's let me borrow their card, and the ratio is 2 for 1. You feel me?
Yeah, I know how that works. I know how that works.
Yeah, what are we talking about, bro?
What I'm saying is it's harder for the vendors to sell you shit that they're not supposed to sell you. You can buy them from somebody, but you still basically got to get food with them.
Yeah,
but it depends though. If you go to the corner stores, it's much easier because of the way that they ring up system is. So they'll just charge you certain things, but you can get whatever you want to get.
But I mean, the cards have made it harder to abuse the system.
Yes.
I
No,
just
Hey,
want to
Gold.
reiterate
the
my
cards
issue
have
with
done what the cards have done is the cards have taken the shame out of it.
I
That's
just
what
want
the
to
card
Oh, I see.
reiterate this really quick.
Yes.
Please, nobody respond. I'm just
Yes.
advocate, right? The thing that I don't like is when we had the debate about the police. The argument that kept getting thrown out is that it's not all police. It's not all police.
Right.
Everybody wanted to focus on the fact that the number of police who do these atrocious things is so small. But then when we talk about anything else, poor people, black people, it's always let's focus on the nominal. Let's focus on the minority.
Hell, deport them all.
I just
These
wish
aren't
y'all
like
would
things.
in y'all arguments.
Yeah, but I think that's you conflate a lot, and that's not the same. The theory that no one says that everyone on welfare is a deadbeat bum that doesn't want to work and don't want to hold their weight. The difference is
Correct.
you're claiming that all or most of police are that way. None of us are claiming that all or most of the people on welfare are the leeches, right? Or are the people that are abusing it. We've clearly said it
Don't
for the
make that
majority of the
claim,
time.
so don't say that because I don't.
Well, you literally just said it. You made the
I
claim that
didn't
the
just say
majority.
that. What I said is that when we had a conversation about the police, everybody's argument is that it's just a small number. When we're talking
Well,
about the bad stuff that they doing, the argument that we get back over and over and over and over and over again, well, it's not all of them. It's just a small number of them. It's even I have stated how many of them don't even draw their guns.
That wasn't my argument.
That's my point.
Before we shift topics, because I see a big shift coming in, Gold says, I came in just to mess with Mr. Fantastic, slobbering on his shirt and all that. You like Mr. Gimme a Cigarette shit. And Tom says, good night, all. Get your membership because Sunday night's interview will make you 2 inches taller, make you 2 levels prettier, increase your income. Not, but it will help you understand AI's coming impact. Yes, Tom Carpenter is coming on for an interview Sunday evening. It is
Cool.
a members only exclusive, so you have to have a membership in order to see it. Thank you, Tom, for the kind reminder. Okay, back to you, gentlemen, and Beth.
Yeah, it's not necessarily a shift. It's just I'm saying if I'm arguing one way on one thing, I'm gonna argue the same way on the next thing. I'm gonna be
It's inconsistent.
And the thing against cops,
I'll focus on the minority. Then over here, I won't focus on the minority, right? But if we're having a conversation about the minority, then that's different, right? So if y'all saying we're having a conversation about the minority, then that's fine. But then let's have an honest conversation about the minority and just
who's the minority?
Impact that you're pretending that it is.
Who's the minority?
But that's whataboutism.
But yeah,
But,
no,
I mean-
it's still
Yeah.
the minority, and it's what the only thing you've not acknowledged the point of where we said several times, right? You're saying, oh, well, why are we worried about this small amount? Because the small amount adds up, and we proved that with the whole Doge situation. When you have these numbers of people, and if you cut down billions of dollars over the year by making these new requirements, hey, you got to work this many hours, hey, you can only get limitations, all these different things, so on and so forth. Over time, you can chip away at the deficit. Now again, I can't just directly totally throw away what the powder Dusty is saying there's no way to overcome the deficit when we came out of a deficit before. Now, if he's saying by sheer numbers and by sheer, amount, mathematically, I don't know, but you know what I'm saying? But being in the fact that we've come out of multiple deficits in the history of this country, I don't understand how you're claiming that, I guess just because it's trillions of dollars now that it's completely totally impossible to never get out of the debt.
It's because of the Federal Reserve System. The first dollar printed was lent from the Federal Reserve Bank to the Treasury at interest. So there's the amount of money needed to repay all the debt and the interest accrued doesn't actually exist.
But I think if you got a good cause for the country going, I'm a firm believer that the rich folk, and I'm talking about the super rich, could bail this country out in a heartbeat. However, it has to be done with no strings attached.
Don't worry, we got you. Don't worry. Now let me break this down for a little bit because this is for the audience too in the panel if they want to listen. If not, cool. But net, one of the biggest things about the GDP, and Elon actually recently said that when he was out of Doge. He said one of the answers I'll solve the national debt, since he couldn't solve it going through Doge, was growth of GDP. So people talk about our debt, but they don't talk about the GDP. You need to have the GDP compared to the debt. It's kind of like your debt to income ratio when you go buy a mortgage for the property of your house. So one of the times actually in American history where we actually paid down the debt considerably, because we had issues in the past too, was 1835. And actually that was done during the sell-off of federal land. Federal land is an asset that the government holds. That's just federal. So if I only count federal, that's about 10 to 12 trillion dollars. They own massive amounts of acres. Actually, Donald Trump spoke to this. He said, hey, if I need to actually get down the debt considerably, I'll sell off some federal land to the private market. And then the private market will sell it out to the public. So again, that's another way that they can generate. That's 10 trillion. That's a lot of money. So if you compare that with the growth of the GDP, AI and artificial intelligence, et cetera, and then you also add on the considerable techniques that we utilized already in the past, which was selling off federal land, plus also tight physical discipline. This is something that Doge actually kind of did. Right now, they saved $200 billion on an annual basis. So back to Bean's point when he said we paid $1 trillion in interest, that's $200 billion available to pay down that interest. And then also, if you take into account the tariffs that are implemented by Trump, which is accruing more interest, I think it was somewhere around like, let me be conservative and say another 200 billion, but I believe it's more. So a new 200 billion, that's 400 billion, which is 40% of that, what, 1 trillion obligation in interest. And that's just in, how long has Trump been in office? Not even a year yet. So you see the progress that actually can happen. But what happens is we mostly listen to people who say, there's no way out. We're going to die with debt.
There isn't a way out. We're not going to die, but there is not.
I just gave you ways that we did get out of debt previously. And I gave you ways that not only Donald Trump, not only Elon Musk said we're going to get out of the debt.
You're not hearing me.
So that's it. No, I heard
every
you. That's
dollar.
Cool. That's your statement.
Okay.
I heard
you. Then you understand that it's mathematically, it's impossible for us to pay off all the debt because the money doesn't exist, right? For it. Do you get that? Because dollars are created.
Assets. Okay, go ahead.
I know, but dollars are created. The debt is in dollars. We borrow dollars from the Treasury or from the Fed, which is a private bank, and we owe it back at interest. So if I lend you $1 and you owe me $1.25 back next year, there's only $1 in circulation.
If the money don't exist and the debt don't exist by that logic.
Yeah, but we do have assets. So there's the difference, right? So if the government has assets and they sell off the assets, and I generate 10 trillion for selling off, let's just say 80% of the assets in which I owned, then I could take that cash and then do what?
But the cash has to come from the nation.
It will go from the private. No, it will come from the private market, like it did as in previously. The government sells it to the private market. Actually, America did it, so that was one example. And then other nations have done it. China does it. Other nations do the same thing. That's why China owns most of the land, because they resell it to the private market. And developers buy it. Then developers sell it to the actual citizens via development projects and housing and etc. I know it's complex, but remember, Beans, you just learned.
You can't.
What you learned. You're gonna have to relax.
Hold on, one at a time.
Just let me walk you through it.
Even if it is complex, though, even if it is complex,
it's not complex. I don't think it's complex.
It was, so I'm just repeating what you just said. So
okay,
gotcha.
Me,
right?
Yeah,
what I'm saying is this: even if it is, you know what I heard or what I didn't hear? I didn't hear 38 trillion, right? Which is the actual debt, right? And wait, can I just finish? And then also, what I really heard more than anything was that 80 billion is really unnecessary to fuck with. If you have something that you could do to generate 10 trillion, again, why are you worrying about 80 billion?
Again, that's why I said people actually did 200 billion. So Beans, you keep talking. People actually got 200 billion out of the physical debt for something that was an issue. So remember, respect people who do work versus you just talking about it. So I'm mentioning the people who actually did it. 200 billion is a lot. Nothing to scoff at. Okay. And then when I add on, if it was, wait, hold on, let me finish. I'm about to just finish off in this point. If I take 10 trillion and take away from how much? 38 trillion. If I take 10 trillion away from 38 trillion, that's 28 trillion. And if my GDP is already 27 trillion, but if it increases, now I'm at a ratio that's more actually legitimate. We have 120% GDP to debt ratio now. So what we're trying to do is scale down. Japan has 150. China has 200. So there are other nations that have way more. We're talking about U.S. And that's what I'm saying. People are actually doing the reducing.
So here's the question: the 10 trillion, is that in dollars?
Yes, of course. We're selling the land. No. Yes.
Where does those dollars come from? The Fed?
The private market, which buys the money from the federal government.
Where do those dollars come from? The Fed?
Developer.
The Treasury does.
Where does the actual dollars come from? The Fed, right?
I have a money. So if I liquidate and go buy it, that's $1 million.
Let me interject,
That's
bro.
where the money comes from. Is that so hard to understand?
Just real quick, just real quick. Let me hop in real quick again, bro.
They think that dollars is the only money, y'all. See, they like math, they just don't like economics.
Hey, man, don't say that because I'm
hold
asking
on.
you the question.
It's the only currency. It's the only currency.
One at a time.
You sound crazy right now.
It's not
How do I sound crazy right
I'm
now?
asking
It is
the
the currency
question.
that we use. We would
That's
have to have a
all you
currency reset.
So let me go.
Okay,
All
but
right,
that's
real
not
quick.
the only currency, bro.
Okay. So let me.
Go ahead, mister.
That's the
Hold on.
point.
Hold on. Go ahead, Mr. Fantastic.
Yeah. So again, the Powder Dusty is making his argument. He getting into the tinfoil hat fucking session of this shit, I guess, and so on and so forth. There's no real money.
Economics. It's basic economics.
Hold on. Let him finish, please.
You're getting into the esoteric fucking, Illuminati government shit, so on and so forth, brother. I understand this. I'm well versed in this. I talk about it, right? But
You are
as
not.
Angry Man, hold on,
Flo, hold on
Hold
and
on.
let him talk, please. Thank you.
By your logic, that means we're all broke, we're all in debt, we're never gonna get out of debt, which is stupid as fuck. Okay, it's dumb shit. All right, can we have a real fucking conversation, bro? If you get along,
I don't know
today,
if you're capable. I can explain it to you, but I can't
get
understand it
along.
for you.
Hold on.
Because I know
Let
the
him
shit.
talk.
He asked me a question.
What you're trying to say. I've been talking about this shit for years. Get the fuck out of here, bro. All right. So I'm gonna tell you again. Okay. The whole world has fucking in debt by the fucking Fed, bro. Okay. But there's still money made. All right. Like that's why print money. The most money that ever fucking existed has been printed since 2020. We know this. You ain't saying no new shit. You're not saying nothing profound. You're not the only motherfucker up here that understand the fucking money system and the Fed. Okay.
I think I might be.
Yeah, you're definitely not. Because I just
why do you think it's tinfoil hat shit?
Yeah, because brother, that's what people reference it to. Okay, I understand exactly how to fucking. I know all about fucking the Jekyll Island and all that shit. So again, bro, you know you're talking to. Don't come to me with the bullshit. Okay, I understand about the Rothschilds, Rockefellers,
tinfoil hat shit.
JP Morgan Chase and all that shit. Okay, so again, bro, I'm well versed. But like what we're saying is, and what kills your whole fucking bullshit argument, as I stated and as Obstacle stated, the same fucking Fed existed back in the 90s, back in the 80s, and we had a fucking deficit and we ended up in a fucking surplus. So if you can do it again, nothing has changed. It can be done again. It's just going to either take a longer time or whatever.
You understand that a deficit is not being.
Hold on. Has the Fed changed from fucking when Clinton, the last surplus I think we had was Clinton. Clinton would have been what, 90 something? 90s.
Yeah.
Has the Fed changed since the fucking 90s? No, it hasn't.
You're confused about what you're talking about. We were talking about debt. We were talking about debt, not the deficit. They're different things.
Flo, if I owed you $20, Flo, I owe you $20.
What do you know the difference, man?
And I make $10 an hour, or $10 a week, or $10 a month, whatever it is. If I go get 2 jobs, would that not allow me to pay you back plus the interest?
Let me try, Flo. Let me try.
Okay.
The issue is not the debt or the deficit. The issue is that the very first dollar that was printed cost you extra money, and every dollar printed to pay the
Hold on. Let him finish.
And every dollar printed to pay the deficit is printed at a deficit. You can't catch the original interest, and that's compounded through the years. And yes, I did put on a tinfoil hat. It was said twice. I figured I should.
That's cool.
He said Rockefeller and Lyland. So
it's more than just that. We have to have the actual like gold to back the money that we print.
Well, we don't. No, we don't.
No. One thing. Wait, hold on. One thing that most Americans keep saying this nonsense. We have the largest gold reserve in the world. So there's nobody else with a larger gold reserve than us. And so net, you can argue that then everybody's money is fake. And it is at the end of the day. But what I was just actually getting to is our GDP is growing. And I'm going to talk this stuff because I wasn't going to do it. I was actually going to reserve it. But the reason I'm about to talk this stuff is because the same reason that a little kid gets in karate class and he done learned a couple of things and he think he bigger than the whole room is the same way that people come up here and tell you things about the economy. You don't understand basic economics. Are you rich? If not, then be quiet. Sit down. Because you could understand all the economics you understand, but it hasn't led to results in your real fundamental life. I'm trying to tell you how it actually works. If you have a debt and you have a GDP, you could start paying off of it. Just like if I was a millionaire, I could borrow 100 million, long as my real estate brought in about 25 million to service my debt. If it didn't service my debt and I had assets that I own, let's say I had 100 million in stocks, I could sell the stocks and then pay down my debt. The real estate doesn't have to bring in the revenue. That's called a whole portfolio. It's called wealth management. You must learn all these things. So you can't just talk about one thing in a vacuum. You must talk about how it all works. And this is not me. If you have a problem, get on the stage with Elon Musk and call him a liar. If you have a problem with me, get on the stage and call Trump a liar. Because both of these people had said something that I said, and 1835 proved what I said. That's it.
Okay, we're talking about a country, not a household. Who is the U.S. primarily in debt to?
1938 was the U.S. I said the federal government did it.
You're not answering.
Not a household. And wealth management is wealth management for a corporation, for a house, and for an actual nation. I don't need to answer that. I'm telling you, United States. Your first statement was incorrect. The United States did it. You said something
are you
about
rich?
a household.
I asked you a fucking question.
Yes.
I didn't make a statement.
I have some money. I'm kidding.
Who does the U.S. owe most of its debt to?
What did you first say?
You said can't answer the question.
Is the U.S. not a household? So I just doubled down.
Can I
And I'm not
pause
gonna answer your
everyone
question.
for just a second? Clay, I'm going to drop you back for just a second. I wanted to check in. Mr. Fantastic, I saw you dropped out. I didn't
Yeah. I didn't. My bad. I wanted to. I didn't give. I wanted to make sure I came back and gave my.
Okay, that's what I thought. I was like, wait, where'd he go? And then, we're gonna give you the floor. Actually, feel free to go ahead and say whatever you want. And I'll just start by saying thank you so much. This was such an amazing topic, and thank you for sharing your community with us.
No problem. Hey, definitely. Thank you for the consideration. Shout out to Fatty. Like I said, this is how we met, whatnot, what have you. It was a wonderful conversation. Appreciate everybody that came through, and hopefully we can do it again. You know what I mean? On my side.
Absolutely. Would love to have you back for definitely a lot more.
For sure. Y'all have a good night.
Have a wonderful evening. Thank you.